Moon, IREN Millionaire. What we're going to talk about today, from the title you can tell we're doing a mashup of Moon and Millionaire. We're going to talk about how high can IREN move this cycle, this bull run, and what you would need to do in order to become an IREN millionaire in the best case scenario, as well as a mid case scenario. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk a little bit about this new indicator I've been working on and how you can set it up. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So first of all, let's take a look at IREN. We're going to go over a few different aspects of this company right now. We are going to look at their market cap. We're going to look at their shares outstanding, as well as an existing ATM and how much that's going to dilute the shares outstanding, and where we think this could potentially go given market cap growth and shares outstanding, and what like the best case scenario could potentially be for IREN going forward. So right now we're looking at the daily chart, but we're going to switch gears here quickly to take a look at their current shares outstanding. All right, so this is where we're going to start. Shares outstanding. They currently have 104.496 million shares outstanding. Honestly, I'm just going to round that up to 104.5 for the sake of my calculations today, because I'm not going to be sitting here writing out 496,782 every single time I want to reference their share. So it's going to be 104.5. Okay. We can see here that since March 2024, there has been no change in shares outstanding. Okay. But we also know that from May 28th, a little over 2.5 weeks ago, they announced a $500 million ATM offering via their SEC release here from that date, May 28th, meaning that they intend to dilute the stock by another $500 million, sorry, by another $500 million. So what will that do to their shares outstanding? We also know that this has not happened yet. It'll probably happen soon, given that IREN is just absolutely rocketing. And when we see a big, ugly candle, we'll know it's probably this dilution coming through finally. So let's take a look real quick. All right. So current market cap is 1.93 billion. So if we add $500 million to that market cap, how much is that going to be? So 0.5 presenting $500 million divided by 1.93. And that is an increase of 25.9%. The next thing we need to do in order to calculate how many shares that would be if they were to dilute the full amount right now, and I'm going to assume that they're going to dilute the full amount because I have no way of knowing how much of the ATM they will actually use, so I just have to run off of the assumption that they're going to use the whole thing. So in that situation, we would see an increase of 25.9% to the shares. So we got 104.5 million shares times by 1.259, and we would end up with 131.56 million shares. So we'll just round that up to 131.6. So for the sake of today's video, we're going to have 131.6 million shares for IREN after full dilution. Okay, now next, let's see, what was their highest market cap ever reached? We're currently there. All right, so we know what their value is at this current market cap of $1.93 billion, and that's $13.22. Let us now take a look at Marathon. So we know Marathon is the largest miner around. So Marathon last cycle was the largest Bitcoin miner around. They still currently are, I believe, unless CleanSpark overtook them, but I don't think that they have. Anyways, doesn't matter. The last cycle, Marathon went as high as $7.56 billion. Now, kind of the benchmark I've been using for a lot of these Moon Millionaire videos is this Marathon previous all-time high market cap in terms of where I think some of the bigger miners could potentially reach in a good cycle. This is going to be dependent on other things as well. Like back in 2021, we had a huge M2 cycle in terms of the Fed just printing money hand over fist. Will that happen again? Potentially. We do know that the way that that the modern economy works is print money, stocks go up, and that's basically the rinse and repeat through booms and busts from that. But I'm not going to assume that they're going to just double the money supply like they did in 2020. So 5.6 billion is kind of a reasonable expectation for some of these miners given that situation, unless something bad happens and they do double the the money supply overnight again like they did back in 2020, but I don't necessarily think that's going to happen again. We will see an increase for sure, but maybe not to that extent. So I'm going to go with the $7.56 billion as kind of my benchmark here for IREN in terms of like what market cap might do, which right now is going to represent almost a 4x, like a little less than a 4x in terms of from its current value. And we'll see how that works with the dilution. So we've got 131 million, right? Okay, let me bring up another calculator here. I love these calculators. So we've got 7.56 billion, okay, and we're going to divide that by 0.1316 to represent 131.6 million. What do we get? We end up with a 57.446, basically a 57 and 45 cent dollar IREN. So $57.45 is what we can expect if we reach Mara's previous all-time high market cap. And I'm going to kind of go with that as a base case for this one, given how much exahash they plan on having just by the end of this year. They're planning to go up to 30 exahash. Let's look at their plan real quick. It's right here. So you can see right here, where's it at? Q3, that's next quarter, this year. They plan to have 20 exahash. They're currently at 10, so they're going to double in the next 3.5 months is their expectations. If they do that, I'm absolutely on board with this thing. If they manage that, I'm going to be on board with IREN. Of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. 30 exahash by Q4, so 30 exahash by the end of the year 2024. That would put them up in the top 3 miners for the year. They would be competing with CleanSpark at that rate. If Marathon doesn't do much to grow from now, they will be competing, potentially exceeding Marathon's exahash. So I do think that they could be a big player. They also have the AI cloud service, much like what Bit Digital is doing. And I do like that as kind of like a stabilizing income. And if you listen to the CEOs that do this talk, they mention how their income per megawatt hour is higher doing the AI services than mining Bitcoin. So it actually makes sense to have that duality of AI services as well as Bitcoin mining in the same facilities. So I like it. I didn't like it initially with Bit Digital, and if you go to my older videos, you can see me complaining about it. But after they actually executed it, it makes sense, and they're doing it well. I doubted their execution at the beginning with Bit Digital, and I have since come around to it. So I do like that IREN is doing this. I appreciate that they're doing that. It does give that shareholder value over time. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's a nice kind of like revenue stream in their back pocket to keep them afloat if something happens to Bitcoin. And I like it. Having contingency plans I think is important personally. Okay, so anyways, we're expecting them to be in the top 3 producing Bitcoin miners for the year by the end of this year. So I think that 7.5 billion is really not even that far-fetched for them in terms of reaching that market cap. So honestly, this is going to be my base case. I'm thinking maybe $57.45 is probably going to be my base case for the big run by the end of the cycle. Now, in was it yesterday's video? I mentioned, yeah, I'm thinking it could go up into like the high 20s and reach like the previous all-time high. I'm kind of thinking that for summer, assuming they don't dilute us into oblivion here in the next month and a half. I'm thinking, yeah, if Bitcoin goes on a run up to like 80, 90,000, maybe $100,000, yeah, we could get into the mid 20s here for IREN in the next couple of months, potentially. Now, they could also dilute us into oblivion and send us back to mean reversion, which would take us back down to like, $8, $9 again. They could do that. And if they do that, that's what would happen. I would be looking out for the candles to indicate that that's going to happen. Like, honestly, I don't like this candle right here. This doji right here from June 13th, followed by a bit of a red doji here, but like leaning towards the top, but coming down. This is a sign of bulls and bears battling it out. These are indecision candles. We get a close beneath $12.38. I'm absolutely looking for a move back down to about $10 on IREN. And that is probably going to be dilution that is happening. And also the thing that really drives that home for me is if I turn off all my drawings here, you see this cloud here? This is the top of the Fibonacci band. So this is the top one is the top of the cloud. The bottom one is like a 7 The 714, what is it? What is that one called? Let me scroll, let me find it. Do I not have it listed? Oh, yes, I do. Okay, 764. That's the 764 Fibonacci band. So we got the 764 and the top. We're above it, and we've been above it for 3 days now. That price does not like staying up there very long. Honestly, we got to come all the way down to $11 just to get back beneath the 764. It is not uncommon to come back to the 618 or the 5, which in this case would be somewhere around between like 960 and $8. Let me turn those on actually really quick. Let me turn them on. Let's see. Let's see. The 5. It's the bottom 5. Where's the top 5? There it is. Ooh, one of those. Yeah, 5 and the 382. Okay. So price needs to come back somewhere in this space right here between 1022 and 874. Like price just needs to come back into that area for this move to make sense and not just collapse in on itself back to way lower levels. That would just be a healthy move. I know nobody likes hearing that, but we've done a massive, massive pump here in the last couple of weeks. We've gone up 250% just since May 1st. So in 6 weeks, we're up 250%. If IREN does not do some kind of reversion soon, I would absolutely be looking for like a collapse coming in if that happened, because it's just how the price action is moving right now, how high we've gone so fast, and we are trading above the Fibonacci cloud here that I've got. And you can see every time we get above that cloud, we come down pretty hard. We've done it back here in July 2023. We did it in December. We just tapped the cloud in February and came all the way down again. So we are above that cloud again right now. We are in that territory where we need to see it do some kind of reversion and come back down a bit before going up further. So that is what I'm waiting for right now. I'm waiting for that price of IREN to come back in below this cloud. Maybe even touch this pink line here, this fuchsia colored line as TradingView would call it. But I think it'll probably catch it somewhere near the bottom of this box down here, somewhere around like that $9 level is probably where that fuchsia line will catch us, just like it did in February. Like we came to the bottom of the cloud and then we came down and just kind of wrapped around this midline here for a while before going back up again. I do think we'll see something like that with IREN going forward. That's just the short-term analysis. Let's get back to the When Moon Millionaire. That's the fun part. That's what we're here for right now. Anyways, so base case, $7.56 billion. Now let's have some fun here. Let's go into what happens if it gets a little more interesting, if it gets a little more out of it than that. So let's go ahead to the crypto market. This is where I like to find some market caps that don't make sense. For example, Shiba Inu does nothing. It is worth $12.3 billion. Why is that worth $12.3 billion in companies like IREN or CleanSpark or Riot or Bitfarms or any of these other ones that are securing one of the most important networks on the planet? Why is this 6 times more valuable than any of those? That doesn't make any sense to me. Because sometimes valuations don't make sense. But I think 12 could potentially make sense for some of these Bitcoin miners. So let's bring this up here. I'm going to leave this calculator here on the corner. This is my base case. And I got to keep this one up here to remind me how many shares outstanding I'm expecting, assuming there is no further dilution by the end of this cycle. There might be, but I can't foresee that, so I'm not going to include it, and I will include it if it comes through. So $12.3 billion, right? We did $12.3 billion, and we had 131 million shares. The value of IREN would be $93.46 per share. That is nuts. That is pretty good. So that's honestly like my mid case. So I'm gonna put this over here because I still need this side of my screen. Okay, actually no, I'm fine right here. I'm fine right here. I'm gonna put this one over here. I know I'm rearranging things on the fly. All right, here we go. All right, let's take a look here. Where else could we go here? So that's just if it reaches the market cap of Shiba Inu, which does nothing. Let's look at something that like does a thing, right? So let's say XRP. Right. Okay. So a lot of people have a lot of strong feelings about XRP. I am actually a bag holder of XRP. I've had XRP for years and years and years and years. I've been a little bit upset about its performance of late. I would like to see it do more. That's okay. But we also know a few things about this. All right. It has had a severely suppressed market cap for a really long time because of SEC meddling on this thing. And as a result has seen a lot less development than it probably deserves. because it is a fast network. It is a secure network. It is there's a lot of really good things about XRP. But it's not going to get the love it deserves because the SEC has decided that it's not going to. And that's just another whole other video for a whole other day. But anyways, it is worth, regardless of all of that, regardless of the government trying to suffocate this thing, it is at a market cap of $27.189 billion right now. And if, let's say, we get a nice big M2 money supply increase over the next year and a half as the Fed starts, diluting the cash, again, the value of our fiat again. We could potentially see some of these outrageous valuations somewhere around the range of like 20, 27, 25 billion dollars for some of our favorite crypto related stocks. It could happen. So I'm going to go with this as my ultra bull crazy case, right? It reaches, let's say, just $27 billion. We'll keep it easy for me here so I don't have to do a whole bunch of math. All right, let me just bring these all up so we see them side. So we're looking at $27 billion. And if we had only 131.6 million shares, we didn't increase it by any further value. And we are looking at $205.16.7 for IREN. This is like the ultra bull. Everything went right. It became the largest Bitcoin miner in the world, or at least the biggest publicly traded one, and just like no hiccups whatsoever. We get up to $205. So I got my base case here about $57.45 if it only reaches the market cap that Mara had reached before, $93 if it reaches the same market cap that Shiba Inu has right now. Well, we haven't really taken off yet with the crypto market, right? And then $205.16.7 if things just go off without a hitch. We get the most perfect bull run ever for IREN. If in these three different scenarios, let's see what you would need to do to become an IREN millionaire. Now, I'm going to tell you where I would buy these things. Now, let's go with if you bought it, right as the market opened Monday morning, how many you would need to buy to become a millionaire. And then let's talk about where I'm looking at buying it, where I want to see price go before I start buying some IREN. So first, let's start with that. All right, let's start with if you bought it at this exact price that it currently is, which is $13.22. So if we had $1 million with this thing, right? Oops, that's way too many zeros. Divided by 57.446. You would need 17,408 shares to become a millionaire. So 17,408, 17,408. All right, times by 13.22. You're going to need $230,133.76 in order to become an IREN millionaire in that scenario. If it only gets up to $7.56 billion, which is Mars' previous all-time high market cap, this cycle, you would need over $230,000 to become an IREN millionaire at the current price. All right, let's move on to the next one. $93. So if we get up to $93.47, let's call it 47 cents, right? 93.47, just for ease of math. You're going to need 10,698 shares. Well, 10,699 shares of IREN to become an IREN millionaire if it can reach a market cap of $12.3 billion. And if you bought it at its current price, right, you're going to need $141,435.75 in order to become an IREN millionaire in this scenario. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, $1 million divided by $205.17. Just for the ease of math. You're going to need 4,874 shares of this thing. If we times that by the current value, we're looking at $64,434 at current value in order to become an IREN millionaire, assuming IREN could potentially hit $205 this cycle. That's like my ultra bull case there. So you need 4,874 shares and $64,434. It's actually not that bad. I don't know if it'll get this high, but man, that'd be amazing for anyone that's already holding 4,000 shares, especially if you got them down in the single digits. Now, let's take a look at IREN. Let's look at them. Let's look at the at the map here, right? At the map of the chart here, and see where I'm looking at potentially wanting to pick this thing up. So this is up 250% in the last 6 weeks. It is above the Fibonacci clouds. I want to see it come back inside of these clouds. I would be looking between $10 and honestly like 860, 850. Like I'd be looking around like 850. Let me somewhere there. That's fine. $10 and 850, I'd be looking to pick it up. Honestly, I'd be just fine picking it up at $9. So let's go with $9. That's what I'm looking at. That's my kind of idea. I'd like to see it around $9, maybe even a little lower because on the daily, I'd like to see this thing get back. Usually it comes to like the middle of these clouds, and these clouds do compress. So by the time they compress, like the middle might be like 850 by the time that happens. If we go into, let's say like a 2-hour look here, what's that showing me? How's that looking? Okay, on the 2-hour it is coming back inside of it, and at the 2-hour, the middle, the absolute middle is already at 827. So yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about picking it up around $9. So that's what I'm going to think about here for IREN. Like $9, I would be a buyer of IREN. Okay, let's bring these all back up again. Okay, let me just get this brought up again. So if we're looking at the $57, we're looking at 17,407 shares. We bought those at $9. You're looking at needing $156,668.87 to become an IREN millionaire at IREN at $9, assuming the all-time bull run peak is $57.44.6. That is significantly less than before. Before it was over, it was $230,000. Now we're back down to $156,000. If you have some patience and you can wait for IREN to get back down into that range to do a bit of mean reversion and come back down, which I am suspecting sometime this fall, because usually around September, October is market bottom. That's like early to mid October or September, maybe late August. Like anywhere from late August to mid October is I'm expecting another low to come through for the majority of these stocks. That's what I'm thinking about right now. Okay, so let's do the next one. $156,668.87, which would equate to 17,404 shares at $57 for IREN. All right, let's take a look at $93 again. I know I should have written these down. Oh well. You would need 10,699 shares times by $9. You would need $96,292.73 invested in IREN if IREN comes back down and reverts down to $9, which I do think it will, sometime in the near future. Maybe after it goes up into the 20s, it might come back down to that. I mean, if it goes up into the 20s, I think probably 13 is probably the lowest it's going to come back down to in that scenario. But I think right now it does need to cool off before continuing up again. Anyways, at $93 a share in the, if it reaches $12.3 billion, a $12.3 billion market cap, which is the current market cap of Shiba Inu, a meme coin that does nothing, definitely doesn't secure the potentially most important network on the planet, like something like, I don't know, Bitcoin. If it reaches that market cap, we'd be looking at $93.46 at the current shares outstanding. And if you could pick those up at $9, which is an area I personally am looking at trying to pick up IREN in the coming, fluctuations of price, you would need $96,292.73 to become an IREN millionaire with 10,699 shares of IREN. All right, let's take a look at the very last scenario here. 167. All right, 4,874 shares, $9. You would need $43,866.70 invested in IREN at $9 to become an IREN millionaire, and like the ultra bull case for IREN, assuming that it gets to that 25 plus billion dollar market cap, in this case $27 billion, which matches the current market cap of XRP, which is a heavily suppressed crypto. And honestly, that one deserves a higher market cap, but that would be given the scenario that like everything goes perfectly. We get a huge M2 injection of cash. IREN executes on its 30 exahash. IREN is just raking in the cash. Bitcoin is like 200,000 plus. In that scenario, I could see IREN reaching $205. And in that scenario, you would only need 4,874 shares of IREN in order to become an IREN millionaire. Now, do I think it's going to reach $205? No, I do not. I do not. I told you my base case is about 57.446. I like to sandbag things. I don't like to go, yeah, it's going to the absolute moon. It's going to surpass the moon and go to Mars. I don't like doing that because then when it gets up to $57 and gives me a blow off top signal, I wouldn't sell. And I'd end up being a bag holder for another 4 years. I'm not doing that. If I see a top signal at $57, you better believe I am out of this thing. Right? Like and that goes for any of my positions. I am not married to any of these positions. If they show a blow off top, if they show that they are going to come down in a big way, I am out. And if I miss further upside, so be it. But because the signs were there, and if it fakes me out, then it fakes me out, and I'll take my profits and I'll be happy with that. I do think it is possible that the case of $12.3 billion and a $93 IREN, I do think that could happen. That is within the realm of possibility. That is not terribly far-fetched. The money supply is larger than it used to be, and it's going to grow very soon. Bitcoin is getting in the pockets of everyone, and I mean everyone. And the miners are going to benefit greatly from this shift in perspective of Bitcoin. So I do think that this $93 range, maybe low $100 range, is entirely possible for IREN. But as I said before, if I see signals that a top is in and IREN is only at a price of $57, I would be looking for my exit at that point. That's all. That's just responsible investing. You can agree or disagree, but I'm not going to hold for the moon if we're not going to make it there. That's all. That's all I got to say about that. But I do think that this is entirely possible, like the $93 or like the low 100s. It's totally possible with their plan, with their outlook, with the shifting perspectives of Bitcoin becoming an institutional investment now. Totally possible. But I would need to see the proof coming through and not see signals of a blow off top much lower than that price in order to stay invested in it for that long haul. Anyways, with that said, which of you are going to be an IREN millionaire? How many shares of IREN are you holding? How high do you think it's going to go? What type of market cap do you think IREN is going to achieve? Let us know in the comments. What do you think about these assessments? Do you want to see more? Which one do you want to see next? I've seen Terra Wolf show up in the comments before. I think I still need to do Riot is one I still got to do. There's a few others I still need to do. Let me know what you want to see on this. And where we want to go with it. Now, the last thing I want to talk about today is my indicator that I've been building. So TradingView keeps taking down my indicators. They keep saying like I'm breaking house rules or something. I've been trying to give them to you, and they last for like an hour or so before TradingView says, oh, no, can't do that. I'm like, why can't I do that? They're kind of annoying in that way. But anyways, this indicator right here, it's pretty simple, actually. You can make this one all by yourself, and I'll show you how you can put this one together. So this is just Fibonacci clouds, right? Or not Fibonacci clouds, Fibonacci Bollinger Bands, and I turned it into a cloud for myself. But this indicator right here. So if you just type in FBB, I believe. Yeah, FBB. If you just type in FBB, you get Fibonacci Bollinger Bands by Rashad. Okay? It's got 28,000 downloads or inclusions or favorites or whatever. I don't know what that means. All right, anyways. Then we go into the settings. We turn off all of these, right? Just turn them all off real quick. All of them except the number ones. If it says 1 or plot at the beginning, leave it for now. Just going to turn them all off. All right, that's what it looks like. Now we turn on the 0764 for both. 0764, 0764. Perfect. All right, now you've got that indicator. There it is. That's what I was looking at. Now, it won't include like these little blue label ups or these green arrows, but you don't necessarily need those. All you need to do is see that price came below the 7, right? Below the 7 and then back above the 7, and then you're in play here, right? Or you need to see it come up above the 7 and then back below the 7, and then you can expect that maybe it's going to come back down to this purple line here. That's really all that indicator is. It's just that, but I've included some conditions. So like so you get the blue label up on mine, you get a blue label up if price comes below the 7 level here and then comes back up above the 5-day moving average within 2 candles. That would show me that it came down low and then momentum drove it back up above the 5-day moving average. And that to me is an indication that we're going to see some moves up from here. Sometimes it gives a false signal. You can see right here, this one was false on April 16th at 12:30, and then also on April 18th at 8:30, there was another false signal. But then the one on April 22nd at 10:30 a.m., that was a true signal, and that sent us all the way back up. How much? This is on the SPY, by the way. It sent us on the SPY up over the course of a couple of weeks there. It sent us up over 7%, which would have been a huge return on this. But so pretty much, if you see price coming down towards this green line here, on like the hourly, I like to do like, I honestly use this for 1-minute scalping, but it works pretty good on the 2-hour as well. Like if it gets pretty close to the 7-6 and starts turning around, or if it gets below it, like here, like it gets below it, like that indicates to me that there's going to soon be a pretty big reversion on the way up. So it's just the Fibonacci bands. And then on top of that, you can include like an SMA, simple moving average. Yeah, there we go. You just include one of these on there. And I would do either probably the 5. I like using the 5. What color is this thing? I don't want it to be blue. Let's make it yellow. Okay. I usually make mine green, but just for the sake of being quick. Yeah, I'd use that, and then I'd look for price to just kind of be getting up above it like it comes in. Let me go back to the hourly to show it. So what I'd be looking for is price to come down below the 7 on the Fibonacci, maybe even touch the green, and then quickly 1, 2 candles right here, it closed above it. I'd be looking for right there to move up. And I'd be looking for it to try to move up to the purple line here, which it did. I mean, there's a lot of fluctuations, but it eventually got there. And that's where I'd probably be exiting my position for that. On the daily, like it usually doesn't get down there on the daily. Like if we go to the daily, it's pretty rare for it to get all the way down there. Like honestly, you're lucky if it gets down to the midline here and then curls up again. So I would be looking on the SPY, maybe on the daily to come. Oh my God, that is so far. I don't know if it's going to make it there. That's why I don't use the daily. Like I like the 2-hour, 4-hour to get back to the midline, sure, but I like the 2-hour for it just because it more frequently gets down to this area and then curls back up from there, from that 7 level area, from that 764 spot, and then goes back up to the 764 spot near the top soon after, usually. So that's how you set that up. I'm still working on trying to get it published in a way where TradingView won't strike it down right away, so that you can have the clouds and you can have it just all of these on one indicator that just gives you some signals that are really good. Like, right, I like this cloud, I like my little label ups, and I like my little green arrows kind of showing me where things are happening. The green arrows, by the way, are when the 5-day moving average crosses up above the 13-day moving average. So if I get one of these blue labels and then soon after I get a green arrow, I know it's go time. And you can see right here, it just went way up, straight up, basically right after. Now, sometimes again, it gives you a fake signal. Like you got one right here, right? And then immediately got that green arrow. It continued up for like 3 days or for like 6 hours and then came down. And then I got another one where it went up and then came down. Like they weren't necessarily false signals, but they were a lot shorter than some of the other ones. So I like to use it in conjunction, right? It comes down, I get my blue label up, and then I get my green arrow, and then I'm usually thinking, yeah, it's going to go high. And I do respect a stop loss in that situation. But yeah, that's it. That's the indicator. If you want to know more about it, let me know in the comments. I'll be glad to talk about it more. Maybe do another video dedicated to it. I am still working on getting this thing published. I tried to publish it, they took it down, saying I violated some house rules. I'm not sure which ones. They sent me an email, you violated house rules, and then they just sent me a list of all the house rules. Didn't tell me which ones were broken. So I'm still, it's a trial and error trying to get this thing published so that I can just send it out there to you in the near future. Anyways, with that said, please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and have a profitable day.